Yeah, it's possible, but Farah, that is a tough task to overturn this tie, isn't it?
Yeah, a really tough task. A task I probably, of today's game, probably think is too big for Chelsea to overturn. I think if you look back to the Manchester City-Chelsea game in the quarterfinals, a little bit of hope for Chelsea, but I think the way in which this game's unfolded today, I don't think it gives Chelsea any chance of turning the tie around in the second leg next week.
You were agreeing with what Lucy Ward was saying there. At 2-1, take that home.
Barcelona were dominating the game. Chelsea, I didn't feel, had a feel for the game. They didn't quite get back into it. Momentum, they never, ever got that momentum to get anything. And then when they got that goal through Baltimore, you're thinking, OK, we've got a lifeline. We've got a goal in the game. It's 2-1, 75 minutes on the clock. Let's try and see the game out. Let's be resilient, what we've shown all year. Suffer without the ball, which we're very good at doing. They don't do that. They try and chase the second goal, and in doing that, concede two more. And, yeah, very naive from them collectively for the first time I've seen this season.
As we know, it's the biggest defeat under Sonia Bompastor. Do you think that has shocked them?
I think they would have been shocked. I think certainly after that third goal went in, the manner in which it went in, I think, you know, we'll talk about that third goal because I think, you know, some big mistakes were made around that. But yeah, this is something that they're going to have to mentally bounce back from, something they haven't suffered under Sonia Bompastor, as you mentioned. Is it out of reach? I think. But who knows what this Chelsea team can do.
Well, look, the scene's out in Barcelona. Absolutely delighted. They must be... Oh, look at Lucy Bronze there. Look at her.
She'll be fuming, and of course she will. But she's a part to play with in this, and we'll talk about some of the defending from the Chelsea team because, yes, it's OK to be annoyed and frustrated and, you know, point the finger and maybe collectively have those discussions, but you've got to look at yourself sometimes. Sometimes in games like this, when you lose in that manner, you've got to self-reflect, individually reflect, collectively reflect before you talk an emotion. That's probably an emotional side of Lucy coming out and probably frustrated that she would have felt going into this game they had a chance of getting something from it. But that's the leader in her that she will display that for them.
All right, well, I'll tell you what, we'll reflect after we take a short break. So stay with us to go next week. But Chelsea need to overturn, well, a 3-goal deficit. They're going to have to score 4 goals without response at home to go through. But Farah, should we go back to the beginning of this game? Because within the first 10 minutes, there was a big penalty call. Now, not much on the field was made of this. However, VAR looks at it and said, yep, that hit her hand.
Yeah, and these are ones that you know, players get frustrated with. I think you mentioned it there. There isn't much of a shout from Barcelona. I think one player put their hands up for it and asked for a penalty. But when you look at the replay, you can see beyond. She's in the air, and as she's coming back down, the ball slightly hits her hand. Yes, there's contact, and we know in the laws of the game it's a penalty, but a harsh one. And it was really early on. And Paredes steps up, and this is a fantastic save by Hannah Hampton. You can see from the replay, Hannah Hampton, you know, kept her foot on the line, and it's a fantastic save. And Aggie Beaver-Jones with the follow-up to clear her lines, but we know that big players stay in the game, and she goes on to have a fantastic game, Paredes, and we'll talk about some of the involvement she has within the game.
Now, at that point, that probably gave Chelsea a bit of a boost, and they were thinking, you know, sometimes in this game you need a little bit of luck. However, there was nothing they could really do about this second goal. Well, the first goal that put Barcelona ahead.
Yeah, and I think it's the organisation. They wasn't set up from the goal kick. One long ball, Beyond gets a first contact on it. Lucy Bronze isn't able to get second contact. But then this pass from Paredes, and, you know, she's just missed the penalty, but the vision to see this pass, and Pajor, you can't give her that much time inside the box because she can put them away. But you'll see here, one long ball for Barca. We don't often see it. Beyond first contact, Lucy doesn't make enough of it. But you'll just see here the defending. We'll highlight Millie Bright and Baltimore. The gap here, Pure shouldn't be getting between them. They're in the same line. One pass takes both of them out of the game. And then a player like this, with that much time and space inside the box, there's only one thing that's going to happen, and a really well executed into the bottom corner from Pure, and puts her team 1-0 up.
But it sort of sums up Chelsea's first half to know that they had their first shot on target in the 49th minute. They just struggled.
They did. They struggled with the connection in their press, and then they struggled in the connections with their build. They didn't know whether they were going long, whether they were trying to play through, and it just was completely off with both of those connections. I thought they got better in the second half, but, you know, their first attempt at goal, 48th minute of the game, and it come from a set piece, which is a free kick on the edge of the box.
Well, yeah, Sonia got them in at half-time, but it was still a pretty slow start at the beginning of the second half, which, once again, Barcelona made the most of.
It was, and they did try and come out and do something different. You'll see here they tried to have a higher press. You can see Lucy Bronze tried to commit to that press, but what happens, they get out of the press on the opposite side. Now, Lucy Bronze is highlighted. You can see Pina just running straight through the middle. Why I was highlighting that is because the difference in acceleration and determination to get into the box. Lucy Bronze can still see Pina, still knows she's a threat, and just doesn't get there in time. And obviously you'll see Baltimore gets beaten here. She tries to slide, doesn't get there. Pajor gets a cross in. But Lucy Bronze has got to sense that danger. With the experience that she has in the game, she's got to get there earlier and clear her lines. And she doesn't. Pina gets in that position, and it's a well-taken goal for her.
You were saying it was mad that Pina can't actually get in the starting lineup because she scores the highest number of goals in the Women's Champions League this season. And that was only her third touch of the game. She's class, isn't she?
She is, and she gets in the right position, and you saw the determination. That's the difference. She wanted to get there first. She made sure she was in the box without any defender picking her up. And that's the difference sometimes, the small margins within a game.
Well, Chelsea did give themselves a lifeline. Sandy Baltimore got herself up the other end of the pitch with a brilliant finish.
She did, and Macario here does really well. The substitution drives it across. I think Guru Wrighton reads it well. The pass wasn't for her. Allows it to go across to Baltimore. We'll see highlighted. Starts to progress up the pitch here, slowly creeps up, and then takes a touch, and without any backlift, drills it into the bottom corner. Fantastic finish from her. And you're thinking, yes, we're back in the game. This is the goal we needed. Let's defend, let's suffer a little bit because we're good at that. We know we can play without the ball. They don't do that.
Sandy Baltimore, her position at Chelsea, signed as a winger, and then she obviously had to move back to cover for Niamh Charles, and she's never really changed from that.
It's been difficult for her because, yes, she had to go back in that position and has done so well in the domestic league. And I think in doing that, probably hasn't done herself any favours because when you do come up against top opposition, those 1v1 duels, she finds herself in difficult situations at times. But on the opposite side, offensively, very good.
Yeah. Should we talk about 3-1? Because you had your head in your hands at one point because it's a set piece. Defensively, Chelsea make a substitution, which you say, you grew up saying that's just the biggest no-no.
It's absolutely crazy. We were brought up that, certainly on a set piece, maybe on attacking a little bit different, definitely not defending. You don't make a substitution at that time. In terms of organisation, communication, it goes out of the window. We don't know if Paredes was being picked up prior to this corner from Bouillon, which is the player that was taken out of the game at that time. And then you just see there's a bit of confusion. No one ends up picking him up. Lucy Bronze looks like she's given the responsibility, doesn't quite get there, and it's a fantastic header. But yeah, absolute ludicrous. You don't make a substitution, anyone would tell you at this time.
So then they're a bit disorganised, coming under more pressure. Does that then force mistakes at the back?
A little bit. I just felt like they lost their way a little bit. I've never seen a Chelsea team fold the way that they did, and they look like this from Millie Bright. You know, she never does this. Trying to dribble out in that area and getting caught. And, you know, that could have been number 4 for them. It wasn't, but 40 seconds later, this is what happened. And, you know, Pina, fantastic, plays the ball. This is so hard to defend when you give it and you follow your run forward. Little bit of class here. You'll see as it goes into Paredes. Pina plays it in, follows a run. Paredes goes in. Kira Walsh doesn't follow her runner. And then Pina just puts it in the back of the net. And for me, this ends the game and the tie for them because I don't see Chelsea recovering from. You think
4-1 is too tough to Chelsea to come back from, even though they're at home with their crowd on their pitch?
Most definitely. Without Barcelona scoring, you can see the quality within the Barcelona team. They will get a chance. They will get a goal away from home. And I don't see Chelsea scoring more than 3 goals.
All right. Well, we will find out next Sunday.
I'll
bookmark that. I was going to say, fingers crossed, I'll bookmark that and I'll come back to you next week to see. But yeah, 4-1 after the first leg for Chelsea tonight. Let's actually get some Chelsea reaction now. We can hear from Lucy Bronze.
Lucy, we started the day with a lot of optimism heading into this big game, and it's where Chelsea want to be as a club. What are your immediate thoughts after today?
Yeah, I think we let the game get away from us in the end. I think Barca were the better team over the 90 minutes, deserved the win, but I think we maybe just let up too many goals at the end when we was trying to keep going, lost our rhythm a lot, although we didn't really get into it that much as we probably feel like we could have. And yeah, I think the rhythm was just, the whole game was kind of played more to Barca's style, whether that was, you know, on the ball, off the ball, the fouls that were given and things like that. I think it was more in line with like the Spain rather than how we play in England.
Are you talking about, well, many things, but I guess the pace as well towards the end there? It was a pretty even game right until it seemed to kind of run away from you at the end. What did it feel like to be in amongst that back line at that point?
Yeah, I feel like we was trying to push again, you know, because we saw how easy it was to get the goal that we got. I feel like we could have pushed to get another goal, but obviously in doing that, we've left gaps the other way. We've tired ourselves coming backwards. Maybe it's been a bit more disjointed at the end. Obviously had to make a few subs as well. You know, just kind of unsettled the rhythm. They brought on fresh legs as well that changed their rhythm again. You know, Pina did really well when she came on. Yeah, probably let it get away from us at the end.
And of course, this is your old team that you've had a lot of success with. How does that affect you playing in front of this crowd that was pretty hostile?
Perhaps they were hostile, but I don't know. I heard a lot of people, saying hello to me. I think I had a fantastic time when I was at Barcelona. I obviously adored the fans whilst I was here, and I feel the same love back from them even when I've been here today, speaking to them, seeing them, taking pictures. So I'm not sure it was that hostile. I think they were just supporting their own team, and I think that'll be the same next week when we got Stamford Bridge. All the Chelsea fans will be behind us, and that's what we're hoping for.
And what's the message ahead of that game then? You've already had one big comeback, of course, in this Champions League, but it's a huge ask against a side like that.
Yeah, definitely, but I think we can do it, and never say never. Nothing's impossible. I think we've got it within us to come out and put on a big performance, a lot of intensity, a lot of pressure. We're playing at Stamford Bridge, a place where we absolutely love playing. We've had some fantastic results and performances this season, so we're just going to need an even bigger one next weekend.
We can't wait for it. Thank you.
Oh, well, she's right. Never say never. You never know what can happen. But she made an interesting point there. They never found a rhythm today. They couldn't get into it at all. Was that them not being at their levels or the way Barcelona played?
I think a bit of both. I think it was a real honest interview from Lucy. I think you like to hear that from players, giving an honest assessment of the game. I think she's right. I think in and out of possession, Chelsea didn't get into that rhythm. We spoke about the connection. They weren't there when they was trying to press, and the third goal come from a press that wasn't quite there. They was trying to get up the pitch and trying to get those connections to get a goal. They found an easy way of getting the goal. Trying to do that again, get found out. So I think she's right. Barca were not at their best, but were very good, and Chelsea were nowhere near their best.
How much will the fact that Barcelona have now got a week off, whereas Chelsea have got to play Palace midweek, is that going to come into play?
Yeah, I think so. I think it depends what team Chelsea are able to put out midweek. The league is not done and dusted for Chelsea. They're only 3 points off Arsenal, so it's a must-win game. But they need momentum, they need goals, they need confidence going into that return leg at Stamford Bridge on the weekend. So I would play a team that is going to get you goals.
All right, we'll see what they do. Farah, thank you very much. All right, well, that's us done this afternoon. Farah, thank you very much. Enjoyable show. Not the afternoon that Chelsea wanted. 4-1 down after the first leg. Whatever you do, make sure you join us next Sunday for both Arsenal and Chelsea in their second legs of this Women's Champions League. We'll see you then.